those of you that may have just joined the campaign recently, just 1 year ago to this date, this is the location where the Roque family actually experienced a hate crime, a hate incident, and we do want to acknowledge, all of the supporters that have shown up here today, and for everyone that has shown up to the live stream today. So thank you again. So we just wanted to highlight the fact how it's been a year, right, since the incident has happened, and how still there is so much that still needs to be done, so much justice that still needs to be fulfilled for the Roque family. And we see how right now in the campaign, the current stage of the campaign, it's very unclear because the justice system has been very difficult to navigate, actually. As we know, there have been actually, I believe, the Roque family has been to over a dozen appearances in the court, and each time they would have to take time off of work and they would not get wages for time lost. So we see how, that even a year later, we still see no answers for justice from both the U.S. and Philippine states. And some of our speakers today will be speaking on that. And also, I forgot to introduce myself. So I'm Abby with Anak Bayan Los Angeles, as well as Bayan SoCal. And I was one of the people that actually came to the Roques the night of the incident, alongside Janine and Jupi, who will be speaking here later today. And so to commemorate and speak on, their thoughts about the 1 year mark since, the incident happened, we will have the Roque families speaking first. So if we can have Isabel onto the stage, please.
Hello everyone, my name is Isabel, as many of you all know. But exactly 1 year ago today, an Asian hate crime has happened that my family had involved with in this exact location. Not only it has affected my family, but to the community as well. It's really just unfortunate to go through to live life with such hatred in such a nice community. As many of you already know, what the outcome of us going court dates to court dates, the hate crime charges has been dropped. Everyone's really dismayed by it. It just shows that the justice system really isn't giving enough justice to people like us who wants to seek justice from the higher positions. It's been a roller coaster ride for everyone, and even though we think we got the justice we think that we deserve, we wouldn't stop here. We would still continue to fight for everyone who's been going through the same thing, who's been fighting through the same thing. And as much as we hope for this incident to be the last one, what we can do is prevent future incidents from happening.
Yes, thank you, Isabel, for speaking on that and for highlighting the fact that, yes, during the preliminary hearing, it was the decision was made that the hate crime enhancements were dropped. And so thank you for bringing that up and for reminding us that, yes, the justice system, no matter how objective they try to be, they still fail its victims in validating their experiences. So next up, we will have Patricia to speak.
Hello everyone. Hi. Thank you all for coming here today, this morning, and thank you for the ones tuning the live stream. Hi. I just wanted to say that it has been exactly a year since the incident happened, and we are here already after a year, and this is our first time again being here at the location itself. We have tried to stay away from this location just because of the trauma, how much trauma it has cost us. And at one point, anything that's resembled this establishment, we've tried to avoid for a long time. But as time went on, we have learned to heal. I think it's been easier, but it's still hard. It's every day that you have to remember when you live near this place. You always have to relive the trauma again and again, because it's so close to where you live, and always have to pass by it all the
But what I wanted to say was, regardless of that, I think after a year, things have only been getting started. After all of our demands, our noise, our cries for help and justice, things have only begun in terms of the justice system. But ever since that night happened, the campaign has already started. So the campaign is still going strong after 1 year. It still will be. But there have also been numerous positive developments because of it. From my personal experience and from my part, I'm lucky enough to help establish a new student youth organization, PYK, yeah. It's one of the things that I'm able to do to give back to the community that has supported my family all throughout this entire year and throughout the past year as well. And to highlight that this is not something that happens away from where you live. It happens really close. It happens to your neighbors, people you know, people out on the streets, people that look like us. It's unfortunate, but it's one of the one things that we can do as youth to prevent stuff from happening. Educating the community, getting right down here in person, supporting causes for society, for a better society. And it's been a tumultuous journey, both positive and negative. It has not been easy, that's for sure. And one of the things that not only my family deserves, but immigrants, minorities, and normal families like us, there's a saying that it's not just the bread, but the roses too. You know, people like us, immigrants, again, people that look like me and you know, I think we deserve not only the bread, but also the roses, meaning we should not only strive to survive every day, but to also live that life, you know, to live in comfort, in relief, knowing that once you go outside your house, you will not be scared of everything that was around you. And that's one of the things that I really wanted to emphasize, and it has taken so much effort and so much courage to do that ever since last year. But thanks to the community, thanks to the people behind me, and to you guys watching this right now, it becomes easier day by day to know that there's people beside you, alongside you, who will go through the struggles that you're going through. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia, for those words and for reminding us that, yes, since the beginning, it's been the community that has been by the side of the Roques, right? We were the ones who came in response, right? And actually, when we arrived there, that's when the police were there at the same time. It took them over an hour to get here. And actually, interestingly enough, there's 2 police stations. One down this direction, 2 miles, and actually down south 2 miles as well. And it takes a total of, it's a 7-minute drive. And yet it took over an hour for them to respond. It took over an hour. And what that could have translated to was them preventing, the attack from happening in the first place, right? So we have to see how it really isn't policing that we will find the solutions. It is through the community, through the people. And we see how even 1 year later, it's only now, like Patricia said, that the case has gotten started. Hate crimes don't even make it this far in the court system, right? We see how even it doesn't even get reported in the first place because a lot of people are scared They're unsure of how, if they'll even get justice in the first place. So we really want to commend and uplift the efforts, the courage that the Roques have had this far in their fight for justice. And so next we will have Tito Gabby speaking.
Good morning. Thank you for gathering here for us in this commemoration. I don't know if it's a commemoration or a remembrance of what happened to us here 1 year ago. 1 year ago today, something drastic and life-changing happened to me and my family. It forever changed the way we see things, on how people interact with each other positively and negatively. From my point of view, the wounds, the injuries have healed, but the aftermath, the other effects of the event have not fully healed. And thanks to the community, all of these things have come to light, and we have sustained through this 1 year of hardships. And without the community, I think this is another thing that could go through the wayside because of the way this is being handled from the very start by the authorities. I mean, it was very evident from the events that happened through this year that there is a lack of interest in pursuing justice, to bring those who are responsible to doing Asian hate crimes to justice through the pretext of, it's something else. I mean, we've been in the courts for 1 year, and it has been very disappointing. We never really got what we were looking for. We were not looking for financial rewards. We are not looking for anything like that. We are just asking for justice, not only for us, but to others who have been subject to the same thing. And again, I think the movement, the community for helping us and the others to bring this all to light. And it also made us aware of the importance of supporting the community in their activities. Again, from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you and for your continued support, because it's been already 1 year, and our way of returning, giving back what we really got from you is something we always continue to do in whatever way we can. Again, thank you very much. And I don't want to do this remembering 1 year of what happened to us. I hope we won't be doing this again next year. 2 years. I hope justice will be served soon. So, thank you again.
Yes, thank you, Tito Gabby, for emphasizing how from the beginning, right, the state, in the form of whether it be the United States or the Philippine governments, they're not swift in providing justice for the victims. Again, we want to reiterate how even a year into this case, the Roques have not received financial assistance or support from the U.S. or Philippine states. It's actually been the community, helping provide the Roques with mental health support, with helping find pro bono services, and also, fundraising for them. Because again, we want to reiterate how, the family has actually been to the courthouse 14 times, and it's been unpaid 14 times. That's a week, 2 weeks actually. So imagine taking 2 weeks off of work and it's unpaid. You know, your livelihood is at stake, right? So we have to see how the state continues to fail the people, continues to fail migrants especially, and doesn't want to prioritize them, rather prioritizes the needs of, not the needs, but the interests of the state, the very few. And with that, next we will have Tita Narissa to speak. Where are you, Tita Narissa? Alrighty.
Hi everyone, good morning. Again, I'm gonna be speechless, especially today. I'm not gonna speak much today because I try not to remember. It's been a year already, but I need to be strong, and I need to face, you know. But again, up to now, me and my family are still not happy because up to now we didn't get the justice, but we're not losing hope. And the day that it happened and then up to now, it's not easy for me, and it's not easy for my family, especially for you guys, and then who's supporting for me and my family since the day one. But all I know is our fight is your fight. We're not losing hope, and then we're still gonna fight as long as the community's here for me and my family. Thank you.
Thank you, Tita Narissa, for re-emphasizing again how, you know, it's not just the family's fight, it's everyone's fight. You know, the Roque family are a working class family, and we see how, you know, their struggles, you know, whether it be related to this hate crime or in the workplace, right? We need to see how, you know, the issues of the workers, it's something that they face every single day, and we need to uplift their struggles so that they can really see that they are the ones who can create change, like the Roques. In this 1 year, they have created so much change, as we see here today. And so next, we will have the next and final Roque of the family, Patrick or PJ Roque, speak.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming here, and to all the people who are tuned in the live stream. Yeah, so my name is PJ. I'm the eldest son of the Roque family, as well as a member of Migrante Los Angeles, a national democratic grassroots organization that fights for the rights and welfare of Filipino migrant workers here in the U.S. So, kind of like thinking back to the night of the incident, I remember, so me being a community organizers along with the other folks who also showed up that night, just thinking back, I think that day as community organizers we held a farewell party for one of our worker contacts who we've met since we were helping him with his case of wage theft. So it was pretty long day, exhausting. And that night we were taking a break at a boba shop, so ready to you know, like head home, get some rest. But then I remember Patricia calling me that they have been attacked that night, and so I was, at first I couldn't believe what had happened, and it, especially now with hate crimes on the rise and being it's on the news now. I remember back then, like, I couldn't believe that it's been like the stuff that has been happening in the news also happened to my family. And so that night it was a pretty heavy night, and this very exact parking lot. It's pretty much made a mark on myself, because right then and there, my like with any hate crime, someone can die on the spot, no matter how it went. And so that night, I recall that my family, when they were called by the police, they were even deterred to or even discouraged to pursue the case. And so all throughout this case, we have learned and experienced firsthand how the justice system treats immigrants and workers like my family. They've been dehumanized and not accommodated for when they testified in court. This is reflective of the for-profit system that upholds and maintains white supremacy. So, at this very day marks the 1-year anniversary of the incident. 1 year of continued visits to the courthouse and multiple days of waiting, multiple hours just to wait for our case to be called. So, we have not received any form of assistance from the U.S. and Philippine government. Through the Philippine consulate, the extension of the Philippine government. But it's only until a few days ago that we have gotten response from them. And we're only getting started, and we're only in the preliminary process of our application for assistance. And considering that, my family was even deterred in the first place from pursuing the case by the police. And through this experience, immigrants must be taken care of and be prioritized, especially those who are in distress. 7,000 Filipinos leave the Philippines every day seeking better opportunities abroad. We demand assistance now. We will continue arousing, organizing, and mobilizing our people so we can further grow the national democratic movement and solve the root issue of forced migration. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, PJ, for those very agitating words and for reminding us, again, how from the beginning, the current systems in place, the authorities, they discourage the family from pursuing their case for justice. And we see how, the police, right, that's not the answer to, it's not the solution to the increase in hate crimes that's been happening since, what happened to the Roques. Actually, even though the police, receive a large portion of LA's budget in the billions, what did they do when the Roques experienced a hate crime? They arrived an hour late, they let the perpetrator go, and then even didn't pursue the perpetrator when there was a warrant for his arrest. So we see how, boo. And again, to reemphasize how there are 2 police stations just 2 miles away from this location. And it takes 7 minutes, 10 minutes at most to drive here. And yet it took an hour. So who do we see the state prioritizes? It's not the community. It's not the people. It's not immigrants, not migrant working families like the Roques, right? They prioritize profit. They prioritize power. And that's why we really want to call them out on that and really see how it's been the community that's been providing the solutions for the Roques, not the current systems in place, whether it be in the form of the police or the justice system. And with that, I wanted to give it off to Jupi, actually, from Kabataan Alliance, who is also one of the other people that was here that night of the incident.
Thank you, Abby. Like Abby said, I'm Jupi from Kabataan Alliance. We're an alliance of Filipino youth and student organizations across the country, serving our communities back home and here. And like Abby said, I was also one of the people here at the night of the incident. And it's kind of crazy to think that was 1 year ago. We were literally at a boba shop just debriefing and decompressing after a meeting, and then we got news from PJ that his family was attacked, and instantly we got out of there and mobilized, and not even 10 minutes we were here to support the family. And what took an hour for 2 officers to do in 1 hour to be here for the family took 5 people 10 minutes to get here. And so again, it's like highlighting just how inefficient the system is here in actually addressing the crises of the people. It's also showing the importance of being backed by the community and organizing with the community as a form of protection for ourselves and everyone else. And it's crazy to think also that even after a year, the family is still, they're still down to fight, and the community is still down to fight for justice. I remember when the night that it happened, Tita Narissa was even more concerned for us, the youth who came to her support and to her family's support. She was more concerned about us that night than she was of herself. So I think that's so reflective of this campaign and the spirit of this campaign, where Tita Gabby said, right, like, this campaign isn't, this fight isn't just for them, but it's really for everyone. And I just want to highlight how important this issue and this fight is for Filipino youth. This campaign itself has been able to activate Filipino youth and students who have never been active in their life, who have never been out on the streets with the people, but are seeing the importance of community organizing now. And so, we even have organizations from UCI, all the way from Irvine, all the way from Fullerton, students waking up at 4 a.m. just to go to the rallies at for the family. And I was talking to some of them, and they were saying that, I have class after this rally, and I had class this morning, but this issue and this fight is more important to us than actually going to class. And so there's a lot of people, a lot of youth who are also making sacrifices alongside with the family just to be here. And I think it just speaks to how this issue, this fight, is not separated from the issues of the youth. The same system that has neglected the needs of the family, the same system that has neglected to address the lack of justice, is also the same system that has also not addressed the needs of youth. The one that also disenfranchises them of their education, disenfranchises them of a good future, of a comfortable future to live in. And so I think a lot of youth also have a very personal connection to this issue because they see themselves in this fight. They see their families, and it's especially personal when we saw one of our own Filipino youth through Patricia be belittled and demeaned by the court. So this is all to say that without the initiative of the family, without the initiative of the community to show up, we wouldn't be here today. And I just want to stress how important the community organizing and mass-based building aspect of this campaign is, and how it's really risen the consciousness of so many people, and we have the family and everyone here to thank that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Jupi, for reminding us how all throughout this past year, throughout the campaign, throughout our time in the justice system, throughout our time in the streets, we have consistently, agitated, mobilized, and organized the broadest of masses all throughout SoCal, and even, this campaign has reached as far as like the East Coast, right? And even we've had supporters internationally, not just in the Philippines, but even like the UK, right? We have supporters in the UK. So this shows that this is a very broad, relatable, and international struggle, not just limited to, the Roque family, not just limited to, the scope of SoCal. But again, it's very broad and international. Alrighty, and with that, I will hand it off to our last speaker, Janine from Anak Bayan, Los Angeles.
Thank you, Abby. And I think for folks in the chat or folks here, repeat after me. Let's see. Stop Asian hate!
Stop Asian hate!
Defend migrant workers!
Defend migrant workers!
Justice for the Roques!
Justice for the Roques!
Hi everyone, I'm Janine from Anagbayan, Los Angeles, but soon to be Anagbayan, San Fernando Valley. Just wanted to say that, that this campaign has been a major turning point here in the San Fernando Valley. Not only did the attack happen here, but the local community responded immediately to it. And thanks to this campaign, many, like Jupi said, youth and students and other budding organizers mobilized and learned so many lessons and organized their communities to form new organizations to grow the people's mass movement in response to this hate crime, right? This is where people have joined in solidarity to defend migrant workers, to end not only Asian hate, but all forms of racist violence against Black and brown communities, right? And it's people, the community coming together to protect one another, because guess what? The police and the court system did not.
Where are they?
And so I'm here to speak with you today because I too was here the night of the incident. Like Jupi or Abby and a few other community members, Bayan members actually. We were here the night where we were just actually celebrating, a successful fundraising event to send a Filipino migrant worker back home to the Philippines, right? And after that event, we were, hanging out at a boba shop, decompressing and talking and chatting in a celebratory fashion. But that's when PJ got the calls, text messages from his sister, his mother, about someone harassing them at a fast food restaurant. Quickly, we jumped into our cars and drove here what seemed like forever. It should have been a 15-minute drive, felt like hours. Not knowing what we were about to witness. So we arrived here actually to this McDonald's parking lot, and I just remember how dark and scary it was, and I just remember the police standing there writing up reports and the family being shaken up. When we came to check in on the family, I remember asking Tita Narissa if she was okay, and her response was, yeah, she's traumatized and shaken up, but she affirmed that she doesn't want this to happen to any other family ever again. And so it was then that I knew that she was a fighter, but then in that moment I didn't know how severe the incident was and that it was actually a hate crime. And so I actually stayed with PJ and the family throughout the night. While some of the organizers went home, I stuck with PJ to help move the cars back to their apartment. I stayed with PJ when he was trying to deliver water or some food to his dad waiting in the hospital emergency room. And I just remember how anxious PJ was and how focused he was and how he wasn't able to process what had been happening, and neither was I. I just couldn't believe it. And even then, we continued to bring in more people to help the family, because when the family needed the most was community support. The family needed financial aid to actually stay home and process their trauma, to heal from their physical wounds, because they were so worried about working the next day, making enough wages to survive in this capitalist society that continues to exploit and oppress our workers, especially our migrant workers. And so that's when the community responded. We brought them basic things to meet their needs. We started a fundraising campaign with the Filipino Migrant Center. An Anagbayan member actually helped link the family to free and accessible mental health resources shortly after the attack. And that was just only within the first few weeks. We hadn't heard anything from the police. We hadn't heard anything from the Bureau of Victim Services. The family was just on their own, at least in the eyes of institutions, the court system, and in law enforcement. But the family was never alone. They had an army of activists and organizers and supporters backing them, even up until now, 1 year later, since the night of the hate crime. And so ever since, we've been mobilizing to court hearing and court hearing. We keep fundraising to make sure the family can miss work, can afford to miss work, to mobilize to these court hearings, to try to seek out their justice they so rightfully deserve. We continue to outreach, we continue to raise awareness in our communities, we continue to recruit into our organizations to grow the movement, to stop Asian hate, to stop racial violence, to continue to protect one another, but also to seek genuine change. Because the court system isn't changing. The fact that the police arrived over an hour late in response to their plea for help, the fact that the Bureau of Victim Services and the courts weren't swift in providing compensation or support and aid to the family when they didn't know how to navigate this corrupt court system. And even when the family sought out help from their own Philippine consulate, because they themselves are Filipino migrants, Filipino nationals, they were met with surveillance by the consulate's very own Philippine National Police stationed inside, who misrepresented himself, who lied about who he is and that he actually has a history of sexual assault charges and all these allegations back home in the Philippines, yet he's working for the consulate. And when the community confronted the Philippine consulate about that issue, they just denied it, didn't answer to it. The family felt unsafe. The family didn't even get the compensation from the consulate. And the consulate hasn't even been showing up to the court hearings. But then the community never stopped. And in fact, more and more community members keep joining the campaign, keep supporting, keep mobilizing in support of the Roques, trying to find solutions outside of the Philippine consulate, outside of the U.S. state. And so, most recently in April, we had a marathon of preliminary hearings where the family was called to the stand to testify, to talk about their experiences on that horrific night. They had to confront their trauma and retell their trauma over and over and over again in the courtroom, having their trauma be nitpicked, having the court system tell them that they're liars, having the court system make them self-doubt their own testimonies, make the family feel like their experience wasn't valid or it wasn't real. And the community watched the court do that. But the community was also quick to mobilize and call that out. The community continues to name this as a hate crime, because by the end, the court actually ruled that this wasn't a hate crime. That, despite the overwhelming video evidence, despite having witnesses recounting what happened, what else do they want? Right. There was so much proof that this was a hate crime. Despite other, hate crimes that have happened and hate incidents, they didn't have that proof. They didn't have that video evidence. And this just shows that no matter who you are, if you are a minority, if you are a migrant, if you are a worker, you will not be believed. You will be denied justice. And that's not right. That's not right. And so, through this campaign, when they ruled that the hate crime charges have been dropped, it got all the community supporters thinking that, so what is real justice? How do we even achieve justice in a corrupt system that is not operating in the interests of your everyday working class migrant person? You have to seek solutions outside of it. You have to call the state out for what it is. A corrupt system, servicing those who are rich, those who are elite, those who have power, the ruling class, the bourgeoisie, the monopoly capitalists who are ruling with an iron fist here in the U.S., right? It is not in the interest of the rich and the elite to actually address racial hate. It is not within the interest of the ruling elite to actually stop the hate crimes and assaults against migrants, against workers. but then they're not functioning within the interests of the majority of the people here. The majority of the people here in the US, the majority of the people who continue to migrate from foreign countries to work here and only be exploited and oppressed and attacked. And so that's where we find our own solutions. We find our solutions here amongst each other, as community members, as community mass organizations. The police, the courts, the Philippine state have all disappointed us. But then, you know who hasn't? The community that's been coming. The community that continues to mobilize. The community that continues to fight. And despite what the court says, because we have our own truth, we know that it was a hate crime. And we know the true experience of the Roques because some of us were there. And even beyond that, you don't need to be there to be believed. And so I implore all of you to take up the initiative to fight back against these corrupt systems, because they're never going to deliver justice, but the People's Mass Movement will. And so thank you everyone who's been supporting this campaign, who's been supporting the family. And for those of you who haven't joined a mass organization yet, why not? Because things aren't going to fundamentally change when the systems remain corrupt. Reform's not enough. Even when we mobilize in the hundreds to the courthouse, it's not enough. Because it's not within the capitalist interests. So then we need to impose our interests as the people. So thank you everybody. I'm once again Janine from Anak Bayan, Los Angeles and San Fernando Valley. If you're in the SFV, join Anak Bayan. And join me in a final set of chants. Okay. Stop Asian hate!
Stop Asian hate!
Defend migrant workers!
Defend migrant workers!
Justice for the Roques!
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 Thank you everybody.
Thank you so much, Janine, for that very moving speech, and for, uplifting how it's the community who will bring the solutions, bring genuine change, where the court systems, the capitalist system does not. Alrighty, so we actually have one more speaker, and that's John from PANA and NSC.
Oh, John!
Hey,
Let's go!
oh yeah. So, to stay in character with the classes, I've been studying a lot, reading about a lot of Black history, and one thing is that, when you study things, they influence how you see things. And so I've been studying about the Civil War. And as I go to these events, these cases, and I see the injustice that happened in the court system, I'm reminded that we're in a historic moment. The police system and the court system was designed early on to find people of color guilty, regardless of the evidence, regardless of the situation. That's how it worked. And that's why so many of us don't call the police. And the court system was also designed to find white terrorists innocent of all the things they do to us. Always, think about it. Is the KKK, were they always found guilty? Almost never. When they killed all the Chinese people down in Chinatown, were any of those people who murdered and then hung those Chinese people, were they found guilty? None, right? We have all these cases of police brutality, and they're often found innocent unless there's a huge amount of attention put on them. And so the court system, as I see it today, is designed to find white supremacy, innocent, and workers of color guilty. And let's make a clear point, workers of color. Now, after I came out of the hearing and I'm looking at everybody, I'm going like, what's up? What's up? We had some Asians up in the court there. They were supposed to, I thought maybe we'd have a chance.
Oh, yeah.
But then
No love.
I looked around and I'm like, what's up with obviously lots of Filipinos showing up, right? But then we have some East Asians showing up. But I'm going like, these are all like kind of poor East Asians. What's up with that? It's almost like, I don't know, what's the deal? Where are the middle class ones, the model minorities? Where are they? I don't fucking know. I'm like, what? I tried talking to some and they're not showing up. I mean, some did. I'm not going to say none. Many have. There's been a lot of solidarity, but not at the numbers I expected, considering that we're all at risk, right? Maybe, I don't know, what are they thinking? Do they use DoorDash instead of going through the drive-thru? I feel at risk right now. So I thought about it, and it reminded me of something that Malcolm X talks about, which is the house slave and the field slave. And the house slave and the field slave. Now, when I first heard that, I thought the field slave was like some kind of insult. But if you look at history, it was the field slave who saw through the bullshit of the system, and the house slave who was caught up in it. The field slave was the ones who ran away. They didn't have it easy, so they ran away to freedom in the north. And then when the Civil War came down to the south, the field slave ran away. They ran away to freedom in the Union Army, and the Union Army didn't know what the fuck to do with them. And eventually, the field slave inspired the house slave to leave as well. And they eventually joined the Union Army and were pivotal in ending slavery. They freed themselves, and that's something American history hasn't taught us and doesn't want us to know. But it's a fact. They freed themselves. And so I thought, I'm looking at this crowd, I'm looking at some of the people here, and I go, well, shit, these are field slaves. And of the East Asians showing up, it's the East Asian field slaves who are showing up. That's it. And that's the situation we're in. And so, I don't mean it as an insult to call us field slaves. It's just our working situation. It's just the situation of being in the working class. When the field slaves left their plantations, they put their tools down, ran the fuck away, and stopped the economy of the South, forming a general strike. And we should find inspiration in that this is the leading group that's going to change things.
Yes, it is. Let's go.
And this is what history is telling me. And this is why I study Black history. And I hope the East Asian house slaves out there wake up to what's going on.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
All the Japanese American house slaves,
Come on,
all the Chinese American house slaves, and all the Korean American house slaves who have, I have to say, fucked up on this situation. Wake up. All right.
Yes, thank you, John, for discussing the role of international solidarity, right? Seeing how the struggle is not limited to just Filipinos, not only to Asians, but right, to everyone, especially working class folks. John did mention how, it is the workers that are the decisive forces of change, right? They are the ones who run our society, right? They are the ones who are the base of our economy. And for them to be the ones to create change, that would rock the entire system, right? And that's what we've been seeing with the Roques. They have, challenged the systems in place. They have allowed us to, rise our consciousness, right? And really allow us to see how we really won't find justice in the current systems that are in place. It wasn't meant for working class people. It's only meant to serve the interests of the 1%, the capitalists, the bourgeoisie. So we have to continue this fight. We have to see how this campaign, this struggle, it applies to everyone, not just, it applies to everyone. We've seen that from the very get-go. So we need to remain firm on seeing solutions outside of the courthouse, seeing solutions outside of the police, seeing the solutions out of, like the for-profit system, essentially, that exists in every single aspect of society. And so with that, we want to close up with a couple of chants. Alrighty, let's do this, everyone. Stop Asian hate!
Stop Asian hate!
Justice for the Roques!
Justice for the Roques!
Defend migrant workers!
Defend migrant workers!
Defend migrant workers!
Defend migrant workers!
Justice for the Roques!
Justice for the Roques!
Justice for the Roques!
Justice for the Roques!
Thank you. And that is the end of our live stream. So thank you to everyone that has joined. Please continue in joining us with the fight, whether it's at our next rally in person or just continuing to support even from afar, right? We see how, you know, you don't necessarily need to be at the courthouses. You don't need to be here at the McDonald's where it happened in order to express support. It's really, you know, showing that continued solidarity, joining your local mass organization such as Anak Bayan, or one of the organizations within Kabataan Alliance.
When's the next court date?
When's the next court date? The next court date is next Friday, May 26th at 8:30 a.m. at the Van Nuys Courthouse. So please join us then if you can. Thank you.
Be there. Be there at the courthouse.
Yes, and a photo, Abby.
Oh yes, and a photo.
Yeah, we can join the photo. We can end the live. Thanks.